Hello, my pretty awkward family. Today, we are talking about offer essentials to deliver a powerful transformation to your clients. So let's dive in. All right. So I have, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. I have 7 things that I've written down. Now, I'm just going to be honest with you. Creating an offer that is really perfect for your ideal client and your lifestyle and that sells is, I don't want to say it's complicated because I don't want to discourage you, but it's more nuanced than I think most people think, myself included, when I first started. Not even when I first started, years in. The reason is I see it happen time and time again. And again, from experience, I've gone through this myself. I see people go, oh yeah, this is my ideal client. Sure, this is the offer. It's one-on-one. Here's what they get. Here's the price. Smack it on, go. Now, I'm a fan of messy action, especially in the beginning. I don't think you should overthink things and wait until it's perfect because it never will be. So I'd actually prefer you do that than go, I have to get all these 7 things correct perfectly before I put myself out there. No, I don't recommend doing that because it's never going to be perfect. And you honestly don't know what your offer needs or more of, or less of, or what needs to be changed until you kind of put it out there. That being said, there are a couple little things that you can do before you put it out there that won't take a ton of time, that won't make you delay, that won't make you make it perfect. You know, all that perfectionism will come in, but some little things that you can take into consideration so you can have more effective time of selling it. You'll actually get more clients in it. They'll get better results, which gives them more, what's the word I'm looking for? They're more likely, I was trying to think of a cool word, but they're more likely to refer you, right? If they're getting better results, they're more likely to shout your praises. They're, hey, this is incredible. This is an amazing experience. I want to tell you all about this program. They're more likely to send you referrals, which is a huge, huge way to build up your client roster. Referrals are absolutely incredible. I think it's honestly the best way to get clients. Never underestimate that. It's funny. I've had some clients go, yeah, but like all of my clients have come from referrals and they have a steady stream. I'm like, that's not a bad thing. Why do we think that's a bad thing? That's amazing. That means that you're actually coaching them in the way that you should be, and they're getting results and they're happy with their results. Like that's the best way, in my opinion, to get clients. So that being said, let's dive in. So one of the first things, I'm going to actually separate it by, let me look at my list here. I have things that are more so like some aspects of the offer, I guess you could say, and then like crafting it and then in the offer. So I lied, by the way. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I lied. Okay. So I'm going to talk about proper timeline, solid framework, and price. Price and transformation is somewhere in here. Yeah, here we go. So I'm going to talk about those first. And then I'm going to dive into, like, once they're in, how to make it a really great experience. So proper timeline, right? When you're, and this is obviously, if it's a self-paced course, I still actually recommend giving them a suggested timeline to finish it. It's self-paced, so they can do it as fast or as slow as they want. But I do recommend giving suggested timelines. People want direction. They want to be told, do this and then that. Sometimes people don't. Sometimes they're like, don't tell me what to do. I'm going to do the opposite. But overall, especially if you're working with people in the beginning stages of their journey, right? The beginning of their customer journey, they really want step by step. They want to be told what to do every step of the way. So your program, the proper timeline for your program, this can be a little tricky. And this is, again, is one of those things that you're not going to have perfect. Gosh, I haven't. I've had to totally redo some timelines. Sometimes if it's too long, it'll be crickets and you're going to start to doubt yourself because you're like, no one's showing up to the calls. No one's posting in the Facebook group. I'm not getting emails back. I'm voxering my clients and I don't hear from them. Right. So you might experience that. They might fall off. They might kind of say, oh, well, I have so much time. I'm not going to get it done in a more urgent time. And it doesn't like help activate them into change as much if they have too much time. And then too short doesn't give them enough time to experience progress towards their goal, right? They feel a little too stressed, too rushed. It's like the Goldilocks way. You want to find what's that perfect sweet spot of activating them because it's a short enough amount of time that they've got to take action now and they can't wait and can't stay in that comfort zone. They've got to get out of it, but it doesn't overwhelm them to the point where they're like so stressed, like their health is suffering because they have to get all this stuff done, right? It's kind of like an example is with health and wellness, when people try to change every single aspect about their habits. They try to change their workouts, their food, their water, everything all at once. They go from doing nothing to working out every day for an hour a day, trying to drink a gallon of water when they drink like 2 glasses a day, trying to eat 100% nutrient dense foods, no packaged foods, no processed foods, when they were eating all fast food, like extreme changes all at once. That's really, really hard. And so almost look at it like that. If your program is, let's say, 1 month, and really they probably need 3 to 4 months to start to work out a lot of the transformation and go through, whether it's modules or calls, learning and implementation. They need time for both. You want to make sure it's the right timeline. And honestly, the best way to make sure you have the right timeline is to know what you're actually doing with them once they enter your offer, which leads me to the next tip, which is framework, having a solid framework. Now, if you've been in my world in the past few months, you've heard me talk about this a lot, and it's so important. The framework of your offer determines so much, and it definitely helps determine the proper timeline. It also can determine your pricing. So having a solid framework is basically the steps that you take your client through in your offer from the second they enter to when they leave, right? What are you actually doing with them? For example, I have a 3-part process. That's my framework in my Smart Online Success Accelerator program. Phase 1, technically 4, because we have a pre-work phase that people do before they even get into the Slack channel, before we start the calls. It's like foundations. But phase 1 is called client clarity. They get really clear on their client. They get clear on their offer, their framework. When I'm talking about a little inception-y right now, whole deep lesson on that. And then once they finish that, they're ready to move on to phase 2, which is content and conversation. So creating content for that client that they just got clear on, for that offer they want to sell, and having conversations with those ideal clients who they want to sell in a way that's really feels really genuine, not icky, nothing like that, really relationship building. And then once they finish that phase, they move on to phase 3, which is launching and selling. So they're actually launching and selling their offer. We handle price objections. We go over sales scripts. We go over how to navigate the DMs during sales. We have templates. We have examples. We have so many resources in this section. And so we take them through that 3-part process, because they can't start selling and launching if they don't know what their offer is, right? They have to go through phase 1 in order to succeed in phase 3. So think about that for yours. What are some things that your client has to do before they can actually achieve a transformation? What are the order? And now every client will be a little different. Yes, some probably can jump right to phase 2 in your program. Some might go through phase 1 really quick. Some might go through it slower. So totally, you're going to have different speeds and maybe sometimes different pieces of your framework. But I've been doing this a long, long time. And I can tell you, even my clients who have a one-on-one offer and have so many different types of clients come through it, they generally go through the same framework. It's just sometimes at a different speed or has different additions. Almost think of it like a la carte. It's like you're at a buffet and everyone gets the same options. Some people choose certain things and some choose others, right? You can kind of think of it like that. But this is really important, because once you decide on the steps you're taking someone through in your offer, then you can go, great. Now, how long do they really need to learn and implement these steps, right? So this is why, for example, in my program, the SOSA that we're actually launching tomorrow, if you're listening to this when it releases on, we're launching it on April 18th for 1 week at $500 off. I will have the link in the show notes so you can check it out. But this is coming out the day before. So in that program used to be called Client Attraction Academy, and it was 3 months and it was awesome. We had incredible results. It was really, really great. But what I found was, even though they could get it done, it was really fast. It was like really tight. And we've added to it. We've added an email list section. We've added more social media platform modules. We've added quite a bit. And so I did not want my students to be so pressure cooked that they were like, oh my gosh, I can't get through all this. But I also didn't want to give them too much time where they were overthinking or they were taking way too much time and they were in their comfort zone too long, right? Again, you want to make sure it's that activation. So we decided to make it 16 weeks for that reason, right? And so go through your framework and go, how long will it take them to actually learn the knowledge that they need to then implement, because implementation is a phase in its own. You need to give your clients time to digest and to go do the work. They just can't just be watching videos. Now, maybe your offer doesn't even include videos, right? You might not have modules. You don't need modules. I didn't have modules for my one-on-one. So you don't need that necessarily. But if it does, right, how long does it take them to go through that? And then how long does it take it to really seep in and for them to actually implement? Every client, of course, will be different, but give us an average, right? You've got to start with somewhere. You can't keep saying that as an excuse, because that can always be an excuse, right? So think about the average person you work with, how long they're going to need. And I would actually say err on the side of less time than more time, because a big thing I hear a lot is, well, this transformation is going to take them years. This transformation is going to be a lifetime transformation. And I get it, right? I totally get it, especially if it's mindset or health. Like, you're never done. You're never there. But obviously we can't have our contract be lifetime. I mean, maybe you could try it. I've never seen anyone do that, but it's first time for everything, right? Or like years and years and years. I have year-long contracts. I have year-long contracts for my mastermind currently. But above that, it's rare. It's definitely rare. And so I want you to remember, and this perfectly brings me to the next thing, is you need to have a clear and concise transformation. But remember too, it doesn't all have to happen during that time period that they're coaching with you or they're in your offer, right? And what I mean by this is, let's say, I'll use my program as an example. It's 16 weeks long. We're going over so much. I just listed out those 3 phases for you. They get 6 calls a month. They get group calls. They get all those calls are group calls. They get a halfway point one-on-one check-in with a coach. They get monthly check-ins with a coach through the Slack channel. So there's a lot of hands-on. It's like a group program that feels like a one-on-one program, to be quite honest. Everything's so individualized. They get monthly content audits. They get weekly office hours with me personally. In addition to all the calls, there's so much hands-on coaching and answering questions and navigating and being there for them that they are going to make progress quicker because of that, right? If it was a self-paced course, it would take longer. But because there's so much hands-on, because there's so much implementing, because there's so much, hey, I implemented and this is what happened, can I get feedback? And then they can go try it again right away. There's a very short amount of time that they need to wait for these answers, right? It's within 24 hours. They can go fix something or go implement or go try something new. It's going to happen much quicker, right? And we have had people in our past programs hit 5K consistent months in that time. Some of them hit a 10K month, right? It's happened. But overall, is it going to happen for everyone? Maybe, maybe not. That's something we can't control. You can't guarantee. I can't guarantee, right? But overall, I am so confident that in those 16 weeks, they are going to feel really confident with the tools to have that system so they can start bringing in clients reliably and consistently, whether it's happening in the 4 months or they're like on their way to it, right? And this is why, especially when I had my 3-month version of the program, I would interview people months after they graduated, like 3 months, 6 months, 9 months after they graduated. And I would check in and be like, where are you at now? And funny enough, not funny enough, but cool enough, a lot of them would end up joining my mastermind because they were progressing so fast and they were doing so well. Because my whole point is, I don't want people to just look at this as a 16-week program, or your program, say if it's 12 weeks, or say your program 6 months, whatever it is. I don't ever want your client or my clients to look at it as that long of a program. I want them to look at it as the stepping stone to changing their life, right? Like, yes, they're going to get so much done in that time period with you, but it's just the beginning. It's just the beginning, right? You're not going to be like, okay, I'm done. Now everything's complete, unless it is like a very specific done for you service. That's different. But if it's coaching and it's something that has to do with your lifestyle, your health, or your business, you're not done. You just keep going, right? And so while my program might be 16 weeks, after that, I want them to keep implementing. The whole point is they have this process in the system for life. They get to keep implementing it. So I want to check in and go, how is the domino effect of this? How has it been since you've instilled all of this, right? There's a delay. Things take time. It's just like when you're exercising and starting to eat healthier. You don't exercise any healthier and look in the mirror the next day, and all of a sudden, because you had one good meal or one day of like healthy eating and one day of workouts or one workout, right? All of a sudden you look different. It takes time. It's the same thing with your business. It's the same thing with any transformation. So when you're stating your clear and concise transformation, because your offer needs to have that, it has to be something that's really, really clear. And I'm going to bring up mine. I'm going to bring up my sales page just so I can read it to you. Not the whole page, but my clear and concise transformation. It's got to be something that they can grasp and understand and that they would say, right? And so I'm going to read mine. And so you can understand why we picked it. I like to do a little inception-y stuff here because I think it's important. So let me scroll down my beautiful page. It's gorgeous, by the way. Shout out High Fly Powerhouse because it's so, so, so beautiful. Okay. So Smart Online Success Accelerator, build your coaching business from the ground up and go from randomly signing clients to attracting a reliable, steady stream of perfect fit soulmate clients consistently. That's what my people want. They've signed clients here and there, but it hasn't been reliable. It hasn't been a steady stream and they haven't loved everyone they've worked with. They want to really love who they work with and they want it to be consistent so they can quit their 9-to-5. They can call this their full-time income, right? They can start to put out different offers. That's what my people want. And I pretty much took this verbatim from many market research interviews I've done, many conversations I've had over the years, but even this year, I've been doing market research forever. I never stop. And so I created this from my people. They told me, your people will give you your verbiage for your sales pages, right? And that's such a clear, concise transformation, right? Where you're going to create this system. You're going to create this so you can bring in these reliable clients, right? You won't have to just live in that random place. And we do it through my 3-part CCS process. That's where that framework comes in. So you really need to get clear on what is your concise transformation. Can you say it like that in a short sentence, in a really short paragraph, right? It's so, so important. And again, I can't reiterate this enough. Don't put so much pressure on yourself that it has to all happen within that time period of your offer, right? Especially if your offer is really short time period, because they just really need to get the tools and then keep implementing afterwards. Don't pressure yourself for it to all happen within that time period, but make it clear you're giving them the tools for that to eventually happen. Okay, next is the price. Obviously, you need the right price. I've seen all over the gamut. I've done it too. Price way too high, price way too low, right? Again, Goldilocks, what's right? This is one of those, like, you really do have to experiment with it. There's so many factors. Yes, look at industry standard. I definitely recommend looking at what's your industry standard. What are people putting out there? And look at that, but that can't be it. That can't just be it. You want to look at what is the transformation worth to this client? What is this worth to the client? And how big of a life change will this be for them? Meaning, when they make these changes, what else is affected in their life? Like, how big of a risk is it for them to undertake this change, right? So I'll use, again, my program as an example, starting their online business and bringing it, or they already have started, right? They're signing clients randomly, but they want to start signing clients consistently so they can quit their 9-to-5, be at home with their family, all that stuff. That is such a huge transformation. That's a complete lifestyle transformation, going from maybe going into an office every day or going to a 9-to-5 job to now being at home and being your own boss. Huge. Work is such a huge part of our identity. Usually, it's a huge part of our day. It takes up so much of our time, the majority of our time. And so that is huge. I would say it's a 10 out of 10, how much it affects someone's life, right? And usually when it's a higher transformation like that, usually it means it's going to be a higher priced offer. Now, not every time. It depends on so many things. It depends on the deliverables, right? Are there calls? Is there a group that they can go into to ask questions? Is it one-on-one, right? One-on-one is going to usually be more expensive than group, or having private access to is going to be more expensive than a group. Or if there's no access at all and it's just a self-paced course, it's going to be cheaper usually, right? Now, these are general guidelines. Everything's going to be different. I've seen courses that are self-paced that have no access to anyone be $2,000. And then I've seen group programs that have all the access be $2,000, right? It just depends. It depends also on how complicated the topic is, how much the topic is going for, how much it's worth, right? I've seen Facebook ad courses that are $2,000. I've seen Facebook ad courses that are $200. It can be so confusing sometimes. So again, the factors I want you to consider are, yes, industry standard. Yes, what is the risk of this? Like if they do accomplish this, how much of their life will change? And I mean risk as like risk and reward. So what's could negatively be affected by this change and positively be affected by this change? Like their life's going to change. And this is kind of where the fear of success comes in for a lot of people. Like, oh my gosh, my life's going to change a lot. Even if it's what I say I want, that's scary. Even when people say they want to change is scary. Even good change is scary and it's hard. It's really hard for people. I'm saying this as my husband and I are on a trying to conceive journey, and I want nothing more than to have a baby this year. He wants nothing more than to have a baby this year. That's our big goal. Yet we're still like, oh my gosh, like that's what we're working towards. But when it actually happens, we're going to like, this is very dramatic, mourn our life. Like we've got a really fun life. We can pick up and go anywhere we want. I mean, now with Luna, it's a little bit more complicated because she's like a fur child. So she's definitely gotten us more trained to start thinking of people other than ourselves, but it's a completely different lifestyle. Right. And I know that, and our lifestyle has changed quite a bit since we've had her and since we are settling down and in that phase. But there's part of us that's like, oh man, that was a really fun time. Like it's a little like we want this change, but it's also change is hard. Even when you want it, it's hard. Right? It's that whole, you choose your hard. Change is hard, not changing is hard, right? So I want you to just remember that when you're taking into consideration the pricing. And then also is what is a price that's going to make you excited to show up, but is not going to stress the client, right? I say this so much. You've probably heard me say this a million times if you're an avid listener of the podcast. I believe in stretching, not stressing your client, right? It's got to be a stretch. If it's not a stretch, they're not going to show up, right? They have to be stretched to be activated. I've seen it. I've underpriced things and it was a waste for the client because it was underpriced. And so they didn't show up. And that's then just a waste of money. Even if it's not as much money as it should have been, they got a deal. They still wasted money. So it has to be something that activates them to take action and actually show up, but hopefully something that doesn't like make them not be able to pay their bills or be able to put food on the table, like things like that. So that's important. It's got to be this balance of stretching, not stressing. And it's got to be something that you want to show up for. There's nothing worse than resenting clients. There's nothing worse. I mean, okay, I'm sure there's worse things in the world, but I mean, within this realm, right? It's a really crappy feeling when you don't want to show up for something because you don't think you're getting paid what you should. And you're like, this is not worth it. I don't even want to do this. I want to give them their money back, right? That's a crappy feeling that I don't want you to feel. But again, pricing is one of those things that most people I know underprice in the beginning and then start to get more confident. And the more clients they sign, they quickly will start to raise their rates. And that's very, very normal. I did the same thing. That's how most people operate. So just know that you'll probably start too low and then you'll raise it as you get more comfortable. Okay. So those were some of the like offer essentials that are within the offer, right? You need to have proper timeline, proper price, clear and concise transformation, and a really solid framework, steps you're taking a client through. Now, here are some other things that I think really help have your clients have powerful transformation. Smooth onboarding process. So this does not need to be complicated, right? When people hear onboarding, I think they go, oh my gosh, what's happening, right? We actually go over onboarding in phase 3 of my SOSA program. There's a whole onboarding lesson from my incredible OBM. She mapped it all out and there's guides and all of that for you. So you can have a smooth onboarding with your clients, but not only for the client, but for you. If you're every single client, you're recreating the wheel, you're recrafting their onboarding. It's such a waste of time, such a waste of time for you, such a waste of energy. And when you know you have to do that every time, you're almost going to like not want to put yourself out there and sign clients because it's really annoying, right? You want to have something that once it's done, it's automated, it can go out, the second they sign up, they're going to get this email or they're going to get this form. Even if you have to manually send it, you have it ready to go, right? It does not need to be complicated, but you want to almost anticipate their questions, right? What do they need to do first? What do they need to do second? Give them a roadmap. For example, in my onboarding, For my program, they get a welcome email and it says, welcome, we're so excited to have you here. Here are a few things to take note of: when they'll be led into the Slack channel, when the first call is, how they'll get access to their portal. They already should have gotten access to the portal with the pre-work module ready to go. And then in the pre-work module, the first lesson, the whole first part is walking them through the program, what to expect, what to do first, when things are going to happen. Like literally, we have a whole lesson about how to use the program. And the reason is, after doing this for so many years, people have lots of questions when they come in. And if they come in with a million questions and they're not sure what to do and they're lost and they're like, I don't know where to go. I don't know where anything is. Everything looks confusing. There's no guidance. I'm not being told anything. They're going to be stressed. And they're going to start to have buyer's remorse and probably ask for a refund. And that's not fun, because you know that if you just had a little bit of, hey, here's what you do first, and guided them and gave them something to work through. And that's another thing, giving people something to do right away. I've had a bunch of people sign up actually for SOSA early birds, and we gave them access to my free challenge course that you get as part of my program. You get a whole course, extra bonus course on how to launch using a 3-day to 5-day challenge. It's literally what I'm doing, what I just did last week. I'm kind of in inceptions like all over my podcast lately. I've just been in lots of inception happening over here. And they got that right away because we wanted to give them something to go through, but we didn't want them to be like light years ahead of the rest of the students who are joining at the open cart, right? So we don't want anyone to feel behind, all that jazz. So that gave them something that they can start working through and get a little bit of a head start on that part, right? Which is a bonus. It's a bonus part of the program. It's not like this is the part you have to go through. It's a bonus. So I recommend doing that. If you do have anyone sign on early, still give them something to go through so that they don't get that buyer's remorse, but they're like, ooh, I get to go through this and this feels great. But what do they do first? What do they do second? Give them a roadmap. And again, it doesn't have to be complicated. It could be one email. It could have like a form for them to fill out. And here's a first video to watch. Boom, you're done. Doesn't have to be in a course portal. It could be in a Google Drive. Like, it really can be that simple, but have it ready so you can copy paste that for every single client. And it doesn't have to be something that you're constantly recreating the wheel in. The next thing that's really important is clear communication. Through which channels should they ask questions, and where do they ask certain types of questions? I've had a lot of health coaching clients I've coached in the past, and they've kind of struggled with, like, they've had people in their app. A lot of my clients use Trainerize for their workouts, for their clients' workouts, and they'll like talk to them in the app, but then they'll also have them in Voxer, but then they'll also be talking to them through email. And it's like, there's so many channels of communication that the client's like very overwhelmed. They don't know where to go. They're opening a million things. So I recommend being really clear, again, in this onboarding. It could be a short video. What do they do first? Where do they go? Who do they ask questions to? If you have co-coaches and things like that, where do they ask questions? What appropriate place? Is it email? Should it be this? Should it be that? Right? And I don't recommend having too many channels, right? For my program, we've got Slack and we've got email. And the email is really just, hey, here's what's on deck for the week or the month. We send them reminders out for the calls, things like that, or support. They email support at Megan Yelaney if they need their login changed, or if they need it updated, they can't get their password. They have to change their credit card on file, whatever it is, right? Things like that. But besides that, pretty much everything else takes place in the Slack channel for clarity. Like, it's so clear and easy for them. They know I just go there, and they know we have different channels for different types of questions. And it's really clear. It's like sales channel, ask sales questions, social media channel, ask social media questions. But then we have a general channel and a random channel. So I recommend, if you have anything like that, like where this is kind of a catch-all, I don't know where this goes, that's somewhere they can go ask those types of questions, right? And make it clear. We make it clear too, hey, if you drop a question about social media in the mindset channel, we're still going to answer it. Don't worry, we check everything, right? And so you just got to make that really clear for them. And communication is so huge. The worst thing we can do is assume people can read our minds. And man, this is not becoming a marriage podcast. Mike and I are going to be starting that very soon. It's coming out very soon. But that's been something that's been so huge for us. Like we talk about all the time, communication is everything in relationships. It goes for marriage and it goes for your clients, right? They need to be communicated to. So that's really, really huge. And then offboarding, right? Just like you had smooth onboarding, what happens after they're done? What email do they get? Do they get offered to join again? Do they get offered a continuation program? Do they get offered an up level? Maybe the next level of your program? Maybe they're continuing on in their journey and they're ready for that next level, or maybe they're not and they need to repeat, or are they complete and they can go on their way, right? I do recommend, this kind of goes into my last thing, is kind of a miscellaneous catch-all. I recommend having an offboarding form where you're asking them questions about how their experience was, what their growth moments were, any constructive criticism that they have, what they thought they could have done without, what they thought they wanted more of, if they're willing to give a testimonial, and if so, what kind, written, video, do they want to be anonymous in the video, or in the, I should say video obviously won't be anonymous, but in the written, right? They're happy to give it, but they don't want their name or face or any identifying information. All of that is so important. And it's a great way to collect testimonials. But then also in the middle of your program, sending in check-in forms to assess how they're feeling in the middle, so you can adjust, right? Maybe you have a client a month in, and they're a little too nervous to like speak out loud. And so they don't really say much. So you can't really tell, but then in the form, you give them a safe place to anonymously share and be honest. And you can take that constructive criticism. Maybe there was this one thing that was really stopping them. And I do this. And my friends, I take that. I don't just think I'm perfect and I know everything and all my programs are exactly perfect the way they are. There's always room for improvement. And I always take that to heart. I take that criticism, that constructive criticism, and I go, great, how can I change something if I think it's necessary? Because I will leave you with this, is you don't want to just change something because one person complained or said, I'm trying to put this correctly, or said that they didn't like something about your offer. Now, if you notice a lot of people are saying that, yes, you want to think about that. That's obviously, okay, there's something to this. But if someone is like, I didn't like this, or I didn't like that, or I wanted this, or I wanted that, and it's outside of the scope of what you promised, you never promised that, and you don't think that it's necessary for what you want this offer to be, it conflicts with your boundaries and your lifestyle and what you wanted this offer for, or they didn't really show up. And so they're kind of like picking at straws. And this happens a lot. Where people, if they don't show up, they kind of want to place blame almost on something else, right? That happens. That can happen. And so I've seen this happen with so many clients where they have 99.9% of the time, it's just like celebrities who are in movies and they get really great reviews and then they get one bad review and that's all they can focus on, right? You'll have such incredible client testimonials, such incredible client wins and people praising your program. And then you'll have the 1 to 2 people who didn't like it. And maybe it just wasn't a good fit for them. Maybe they didn't show up the way they should have. Maybe you guys just weren't a good fit, like just not a good match. Right. And you just harp on that and you change your entire program for those 2 people when you had 98 other people. Let's say you had 100 people in your program, right? 98 other happy as a clam souls, don't change a thing. And you change so much. I have seen people do this. I've been tempted to do this. You've got to hold back and go, if I made this change, is it simply because I'm taking these people's opinions as, okay, I have to change everything because they told me to? I want you to remember you're the expert. You're the expert. You're the creator. You got to own that. Be confident. You're the one creating the program and you created it intentionally. You created it for a reason. You made it this way for a reason. Don't just go and wildly change things without thinking it through. Now, I have had feedback and I have changed things with feedback because I take everything in and I sit with it and I go, okay, would this better the program? Would this be in alignment? Would this be in alignment with my boundaries and the type of offer I want to have? Or would this be outside the scope? For example, I've had a few people over like hundreds. So again, very small percentage, like very small, probably like 3 people out of hundreds ask for a Facebook ads portion in my program. And so basically I would hire someone to come in and teach on Facebook ads. 1, I'd have to make the price of the program higher because that's a good chunk of change to have someone do that, especially for Facebook ads. And 2, it's outside the scope of the program. So while I've said, thank you so much, I really appreciate that, I totally understand wanting that, And I can definitely refer you to a bunch of really great programs, but that's outside the scope of this. And here's why, and I'll explain it, right? Especially for the person that I'm bringing in this program. I didn't start Facebook ads until years into my business. I was making multiple six figures until I ever touched. No, I had brought in $1 million before I touched Facebook ads in my business. Like, and then I know people who start with Facebook ads. That's not my program. My program is helping people build coaching businesses, service provider businesses with organic social media marketing. That's my program, right? So if all of a sudden I am making them go through the Facebook ads course, unless it was like a real bonus and I can make it clear, hey, don't go through this till the end. I just feel like it would hurt my clients' progress because they'd get distracted. They'd try to do things too early. And I just believe you should organically test something before you're going to throw money at it and let it organically convert before you start paying for it. Right. And that's worked for 99% of my clients. So that's why I didn't make that change. That's one example. Right. And so you got to take that into consideration with these offboarding forms. But also remember, this isn't a reflection on you, right? And I know people who are terrified to do these forms because they don't want to be told things like, I didn't love this, or I didn't love that, because they take it so personally, right? If someone gives me feedback on a certain part of the program they didn't love, or they want to change, or they wish they had more of this, I don't go, oh my God, they hate me. No, it's not me. They're not saying like they hate me or they didn't like this me. It's this part of the program. And yes, I crafted it, but I am not my offer. I am not my business, right? I can compartmentalize that. And I really recommend the sooner you can do that, the better, because you have to be able to take this criticism and feedbacks to make your program better, right? If a big majority is saying, hey, I'd really love this, then that's so important. Honestly, it's one reason I'm bringing back in, or not bringing back in, for this round of SOSA, we're doing weekly office hours. Basically, I go into Slack and I say, hey, office hours has begun, right? For the next hour, I'm in here live replying to comments. So it's not a video, but it's like a call, except in Slack and replying to threads. And I'll go back and forth for a whole hour. I used to do that once a month. Now we're doing it every week. Why? People loved it. They loved it. It really helped them. It helped them also get so much done in that time in between the calls that they didn't have to use the overall Slack channel as much. And I'd rather them have really focused in real time coaching. So we're doing that every single week in addition to the calls. And that was a really cool feedback that I was like, great, they like this. Let's do more of it. You know, it's going to just help them. It's not going to overwhelm them. So I just really recommend having those check-in forums so you can read the pulse. You can take the pulse. You can go, okay, what are they loving? What do I need to change? What do I not need to change? Even though I might think I need to change, all of that. So there was so much we went over, right? We went over smooth onboarding, clear communication, price, proper timeline, clear and concise transformation, a solid framework, offboarding, and some miscellaneous things with check-in forms, et cetera, right? All of this is so important, and there's more. And this is why this is one little part in phase 1 of my program. So phase 1 of Smart Online Success Accelerator, we go over ideal client clarity. So you get super, super clear on who you're talking to, your statement, your bio, all that jazz. You go over their pain points, their desires, their customer journey. Like, you know, your client in and out by the end of that phase, or I should say that lesson within this phase. The second part of phase 1 is all market research. We take that and we go out and we talk to these people. You actually talk to these people. You get data, you get words, you get their descriptors, everything that they're saying they want, so you can put it in your messaging. And then part 3 of phase 1 is offer creation. And that's where all of this stuff I just went over, there's so much more to it. This was just a little blip of it. There's a lot more to it that goes into creating an offer, and you drop your offer worksheet into the Slack channel for review, and me and the coaches review it, give you feedback, make sure you're good to go before moving on to phase 2, which is great. Now let's create content and start having conversations with these ideal clients so that when you get to phase 3, launch and sell, they're ready, right? You're not just like, here's my offer. You actually have warmed them up the right way. You've nurtured them, all of that. So there's so much that goes on and so much that's involved to really bring in that steady stream of reliable clients that you love to work with consistently. And that's exactly what we do in Smart Online Success Accelerator. We have so many incredible students coming on the podcast. We have 4 students, 4 interviews popping out for you this week. So if you are like, again, this is not for me, I'm past this, or I'm already in a program, or whatever it is, right? I still recommend you follow along and see how we're doing what we're doing. right? Why we're doing these things, why we're putting this out, then be a detective and why we're launching this way. And then if you are interested and you're like, okay, it's definitely on my radar, consume everything. I want you to make the best decision. And I'm giving you everything you need over the next week to make the best decision. You will know without a shadow of a doubt. I promise you, my friend. And if you have any questions, please DM me on Instagram. I'm scheduling 20-minute discovery calls for anyone who really wants to talk it through. Happy to hop on the phone with you or on a Zoom with you. Or if you want to talk in the DMs, we can. But we open on Tuesday, the 18th, and we're open for 1 week only, 1 week only, 1 week only. That's all you have to buy. I did that on the fly. You're welcome. Until the 25th, and it's $500 off for the entire week, my friends. So if this is something that you know you need, if you really want to quit that 9 to 5, go full time in your business, bring in a reliable steady stream of clients consistently that you absolutely adore, this program is for you. We have incredible client case studies coming out this week. Again, we have 4 that you'll get to listen to, actual clients from the program being interviewed, sharing their experience. And we have a ton of amazing social proof on the sales page, lots of screenshots, 2 videos, partly from these client interviews you're going to hear over the next week. I'm so honored and gracious that they shared that. And we are also having a little open house on Sunday. I think it's the 23rd. Yes, Sunday, the 23rd. If you're on the email list, we'll send information out about that. So again, have questions, DM me, go to the link in the show notes. Tomorrow morning, early, April 18th, that's when the buy button will be there and you can purchase and join our next round of Smart Online Success Accelerator that starts on May 8th. So pumped to welcome in our early bird peeps who already snuck in. Hello. So happy to have you. You know who you are if you're listening, and cannot wait to welcome in so many more amazing humans. Remember, this program, even though it is a group, I say it's one of those group feels like one-on-one type programs. We get you so individualized answers. We know every single student. We know what's going on in your business. And you're going to hear that in these interviews. That's something that every single person I interviewed said. So I'm really pumped for you to listen to them. All right. Thank you. I hope this helped you. I'm excited to see what offers you put out there. And I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day.